Cortas historias en español para principiantes. Short stories in Spanish for beginners. Hola, bienvenidos a todos a mi canal Spanish Blueprints. My name is Joshua, and this channel is dedicated to supplying you with a blueprint for learning the Spanish language. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the book Short Stories in Spanish for Beginners by Olly Richards, and then also giving my opinion if this is really a good book for Spanish beginners. Let me know in the comment section below, what type of stories do you like to read in Spanish? And if you haven't gotten to reading yet, let me know what type of books or stories you like to read in your first language. If you find this book very interesting and you would like to learn more, make sure you go to the description box of this video and click on the link. ¿Quién es Olly Richards? The author Olly Richards is a fairly well-known polyglot in the language learning community. He speaks 8 languages. He has written various books like this one in different languages like Korean, Dutch, German, and English. And some of them are designed for intermediate learners. He is the creator of the Story Learning Spanish podcast, and he also has his own YouTube channel. And I definitely recommend that you check out his content. This book contains 1,000 of the most common words in Spanish. It is written in Peninsular Spanish, which is a type of Spanish spoken in Spain, and there's also 8 different and captivating stories. And the names of each of these stories are La Paella Loca, La Criatura, El Caballero, El Reloj, El Cofre, Tierras Desconocidas, Laura, La Mujer Invisible, and the last one is La Cápsula. And luckily for you, you're gonna get a variety of genres, from science fiction and adventure to fantasy, fiction, crime, and thriller. So once you start digging into this book, you're going to find a lot of words and phrases that are in bold. And then once you get to the end of each chapter in each of these stories, you're going to see a list of these bolded words in Spanish and the phrases as well. And then you'll see the translation right to the side of it, right there. Also at the end of each chapter, right above this vocabulary list, there is a summary of that chapter. And this is all written in Spanish. The next page, we have a list of multiple choice questions. So A, B, C, D, and these are also written all in Spanish. At the beginning of each story, there's an illustration as well. So this one is for the first short story in this book, for La Paella Loca. You're going to see the same structure throughout the whole book, the vocabulary list, the summary at the end of each chapter, then also the multiple choice questions. Now, if we go to the end of the book, and hopefully you get there one day, we have the answer key for each of the short stories for those different multiple choice questions. But then on the next page, we have a glossary of all of the Spanish words and phrases that were in bold throughout every single story. So Olly Richards did a very good job writing this book. I enjoyed it a lot, and that surprised me because initially I was very skeptical about getting this book just because I never read one before. I always thought it would make a Spanish learner like myself get into a mode of analysis paralysis, where every single word that you see that you don't know, you're just gonna go directly to that vocab list. But he suggests that you actually don't do that, so that kind of eliminates that problem right there. So I really liked his methodology for reading this book. At the beginning of this book, there's a few pages on his strategy for reading books in Spanish, as well what you should do as a Spanish learner to read this particular book. So one of them would be enjoyment and a sense of achievement when reading is vitally important. The more you read, the more you learn. You must accept that you won't understand everything that you read in a story, what we just talked about. It doesn't mean that your language level is flawed or that you're not doing well. I definitely agree with that. And then some other suggestions that he has for reading this book are look at the word and see if it's familiar in any way. Reread the sentence that contains the unknown word several times. And think about whether or not the word might be a different form of a word you know. So I definitely agree, and I have also used those exact methods for reading this book. A big advantage of reading this book is definitely the variety of stories. They are very interesting, and a lot of them actually surprised me a lot. And that's also something that I did not think that was going to happen, because I thought initially How is it possible that you can have such a well-written story that's in depth? But I was very wrong, because you definitely can get a good sense of the setting, of the different personalities of each of the characters in each of the stories. Another really good benefit is going to be the genre, because each of these genres, they're going to have a different style of writing, which means you're going to have different words and you're going to have different phrases. And that makes the stories even more entertaining. Truly shows how much detail that Olly put into each of these stories, as well as being able to see it from different perspectives. So you're going to be able to have it from a first person's perspective in some of these stories, and then also from like a third person perspective. So you really are going to get a wealth of different words. And I'll tell you that changing the narration style of a story can really have a big influence on how the story is told, as well as the overall flow. So my favorite story of this book is called La Criatura, hands down. And here's the little illustration there. I'm just going to read just a little bit of this. Silvia corría tanto como podía, pero la criatura corría más que ella y la alcanzó. Silvia se volvió para verla. Se cayó al suelo, con miedo y el pánico. Empezó a pantalear. La criatura la había cogido de las piernas y ella no se podía soltar. Overall, I think Short Stories in Spanish for Beginners by Olly Richards is a fantastic book. It really has a lot of different stories that I actually like and that I found really entertaining, and I also really enjoyed all the different illustrations and the learning aids as well, because it's something that I never thought that I would actually need before in the past. So it kind of takes out your own note-taking. So instead of me underlining and highlighting all the different words that I come across, that is already done for me, and it has a good summary, so I don't have to write that either. And the addition of the multiple choice questions really helps me to have a good idea of what the story is about, and also how to ask questions in Spanish. So those are just a few of my thoughts on this book. I really hope that you enjoy all these short stories just like I did, and as well that you'll be able to develop your Spanish vocabulary and that you feel more comfortable reading and comprehending a book in Spanish, because it is a very valuable tool during your Spanish learning journey. Sobre todo, muchas gracias por ver este video. Disfruto este libro y nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.